At 9:27 a.m. on December 13, 1943, 2nd Lieutenant Philip Adair pulled his Curtiss P-40N Warhawk into a climbing turn over the misty skies of Assam, India. Ahead, almost as if materializing from the haze itself, came 64 Japanese aircraft, 3 miles out and heading straight for Denjan Airfield. Adair was 23, a veteran of 43 combat missions with the 89th Fighter Squadron, tasked with protecting the Hump airlift. But this morning, he was the only pilot airborne. In the previous 8 weeks, Japanese raids across northeast India had destroyed 47 transport aircraft and killed 112 personnel. This wasn't just another mission, it was survival for everyone on the ground. His plane, nicknamed Lulu Bell, carried .50 caliber Browning machine guns, enough ammunition for barely 12 seconds of sustained fire. Below him, Denjan Airfield housed 14 C-47 transports packed with supplies, a field hospital with 63 wounded soldiers, and fuel to keep the Hump airlift running for nearly 2 weeks. If the bombers hit, it would devastate Allied operations for weeks. The enemy formation was precise. 24 Mitsubishi Ki-21 Sally bombers, escorted by 40 Nakajima Ki-43 Oscar fighters, moved in layered formations, climbing toward their target. Reports from similar raids in Burma had shown 90% hit rates on undefended airfields. Adair faced odds of 64-1. Standard doctrine dictated waiting for reinforcements, but the nearest Allied fighters were 38 minutes away. Waiting wasn't an option. He checked his fuel. Full internal tanks, 180 gallons, about 90 minutes at combat power. Adair made a choice. He would attack alone. Throttle forward. The Allison V-1710 engine roared to life. Speed built to 320 miles per hour. He positioned himself 4,000 feet above the formation, coming in from the south with the sun behind him. Surprise was his only advantage. The lead Sally bombers flew tight, 6 aircraft in 2 V-shaped formations. Adair rolled inverted, nose down, and dove toward them. Speed climbed 360 miles per hour, then 405 in the dive. At 800 yards, he opened fire. Tracers tore through the air, slamming into the lead bomber's port engine. Fire erupted. Smoke poured out. Chaos spread through the bomber formation. The Oscars responded instantly, diving toward him. The Nakajima Ki-43 was fast, highly maneuverable, a nightmare in a turning fight. The P-40 couldn't outturn them, it could only outspeed them. Standard P-40 tactics, hit and run. But he couldn't run. If he did, the bombers would reform. He had to keep them scattered, keep them nervous. 4 Oscars attacked from his 10 o'clock high. He fired bursts, missed, pulled out of dives, repositioned. He had about 90 seconds before the bombers reached release range over Denjan. He dove again, 8 Oscars in pursuit, closing at speeds exceeding 400 miles per hour. At bomber altitude, he fired again, destroying engines, tearing wings, scattering formations. He didn't stop. Another wave of 12 Oscars pursued him, but Adair's relentless attacks had already broken the raid. His engine was overheating. The Allison V-1710 was screaming at full power. Combat settings above 50 inches of manifold pressure pushed it beyond design limits. Coolant temperature climbed past 230 degrees Fahrenheit. Oil pressure fell. But he continued, knowing any hesitation could let the bombers regroup. 2 head-on Oscars closed. He returned fire. 1 was damaged, trailing coolant. Adair rolled, dove, attacked again. The Sally bombers were 15 miles from Denjan, but their V formations had dissolved. Their bombing accuracy destroyed. Then the engine began to fail. Smoke filled the cockpit from damaged wiring. Electrical systems were failing. Fuel starvation made climbing nearly impossible. The P-40, damaged, smoking, and under attack, continued its desperate flight toward safety. His inverted flying technique began, an impossible method born of sheer necessity. By rolling the aircraft upside down, he used the damaged controls to his advantage, alternating inverted and upright flight to climb despite minimal engine power. The 6 pursuing Oscars watched in disbelief. At 5,000 feet, Nagili Airfield appeared ahead. The engine was barely running, oil pressure 0, power down to 40%. The landing gear wouldn't lower hydraulically. Adair rigged the controls, manually pumping the hydraulic system until the gear extended and locked. Flaps stayed up. He approached the runway at over 120 miles per hour, vision tunneled from carbon monoxide poisoning and G-forces. The crew on the ground watched in astonishment as an inverted P-40 streaked toward them, smoke trailing, gear down, flaps up. 2 miles out, the engine quit. The Warhawk became a glider. 1 mile out, Adair rolled inverted again, exploiting aerodynamic principles no pilot had ever used in combat. The glide slowed, drag reduced. At 200 feet, 300 yards from the threshold, he rolled upright, partially controlled the descent with damaged elevators, and touched down hard. 7 Gs slammed the main gear. Sparks flew. The right gear collapsed. The plane ground looped, skidding 200 feet, and came to a stop. Adair climbed out. The Warhawk, Lulu Bell, was destroyed, engine wrecked, wings peppered with bullet holes, hydraulic and electrical systems ruined. But Denjan Airfield was safe. Intelligence later confirmed all 24 Sally bombers had turned back without releasing their bombs. 40 Oscars had returned empty-handed. Supplies, transports, personnel, all intact. 3 days later, Adair was interviewed. Blood tests confirmed severe carbon monoxide poisoning. He had flown the final 11 minutes of the mission in a state that should have rendered him unconscious. Yet he had remained functional. On January 8, 1944, Lieutenant General Joseph Stilwell awarded him the Silver Star for gallantry. Flying alone, engaging 64 enemy aircraft, destroying the raid, and preserving critical Allied supply operations. Adair flew 95 more combat missions, became an ace, and survived the war, retiring as a full colonel after 30 years in the Air Force. The 80th Fighter Group, the Burma Banshees, continued operations until 1945, destroying hundreds of Japanese aircraft. The P-40 Warhawk never gained the fame of the Mustang or Thunderbolt. By 1943, it was considered obsolete. Yet, in the hands of Philip Adair, courage and skill mattered more than aircraft specifications. 1 pilot, 1 plane, 64 enemies. Impossible odds? Not for someone who refuses to quit. This is the story of the Burma Banshees, of Philip Adair, and the day a single P-40 disrupted an entire Japanese raid. A story of ingenuity, bravery, and the unbreakable will of a pilot who refused to let odds dictate his fate. If this story reminds you why history matters, hit like, subscribe for more forgotten heroes, and turn on notifications to never miss a story. Share in the comments where you're watching from, and if anyone in your family served in the China-Burma-India theater. Thanks for watching.